of this game.
Thought that the TBS crew did a great job on that series, covering the Dodgers and the Brewers, their 23rd National League pennant and their 5th in the last 9 seasons. First defending champ to return to the Fall Classic since the Phillies, who incidentally lost in 2009. Jerry Hairston, who was just our guest, was on that Yankees team in 09. And now the Dodgers trying to become the first team with back-to-back titles since the Yankees three-peated from 98 to 2000. And we welcome you back to MLB Tonight, presented by Strauss. Standing up once again with my guys, Steve Phillips and Alex Avila. I'm Greg Caserta. So, keys to beating the Dodgers. We're going to try and figure this out. You got to get their starters out, right? But is that feasible based on how they pitched against Milwaukee?
Well, not with the way they've been pitching lately, but I think the game plan going into it, at least from an offensive perspective, you have to really try to wear the pitching staff down with these starters. It's almost like old school style baseball, where you're trying to wear down the pitcher to get him out of there to get to that bullpen. And if there's any sort of weak spot, which, I don't even think their bullpen is that much of a weak spot. They had a stretch where they didn't pitch as well, but it looks like they've kind of found their footing. But if there is any sort of weak spot, it's right there, kind of like those middle innings. And if you're able to, get to one of those starters early, get his pitch count up a little bit, and you can get into that bullpen, you'll have a chance to at least score some runs and give yourself an opportunity.
Yeah, I think that, Jim Leland said this. I thought it was a great saying that, the way to have a good bullpen is keep them in the bullpen, right? Don't overuse them and use them when you want to, not because you have to. Dave Roberts has used his bullpen because he wanted to. He didn't have to because his starters went deep and he made a choice about whether he wanted to leave Snell in the game or not. It's one thing to have starters that hand the ball to the manager and the closers coming in, right? But what you need to do is you need to get Dave Roberts in a position in the Dodgers where they've got to go to the bullpen in the 6th inning and the 7th inning. Like what, Glass now came out of the game fairly early, but you've got to work them. So you got to foul off pitches. You got to battle. The Blue Jays really put some tough at-bats together. Really tough team to strike out. They do get some walks as well, but you've got to foul off pitches and really make the opposition work for the Dodgers, get them out, and then get into that middle relief where they've got to bring somebody in the 6th and 7th inning, and the guys that aren't going to just hand the ball. Then I think the other thing is you've got to steal a game from Sasaki late. Like to win a short series, if you can steal a game from the closer. Now, he's looked locked down nails until the one game that he didn't.
That was the one.
And he has shown some ability to get flustered. And so if you can get to him with the first couple of hitters getting on, or make him throw strikes and not chase early where he walks somebody, maybe you get under his skin a little bit and you can get something going. So it's a narrow pathway to beat them, but it's possible.
So watching the American League unfold, right? You see the Mariners going 5 games with the Tigers. You're seeing this series now in the ALCS. Game 6 tonight, possible Game 7 tomorrow. Dan Wilson, John Schneider are pulling their hair out trying to navigate these middle to late innings. Dave Roberts really hasn't had to do that. There really haven't been a lot of stressful decisions for him to make.
Well, that's been the luxury of having, the starting rotation that they've had. They're all healthy. They're all pitching really well, lately. And, that's just the luxury that he has. And, you can't fault him or blame him for the fact that he really hasn't had to make those decisions, because his guys are performing. And, that's perfectly fine. The other thing is like when you're facing this Dodgers team, when I look at both these American League teams, I think both of them will, match up a little bit better than the Brewers did, just because of their pitching situation, right? The Brewers did a good job as far as, keeping the Dodgers offense at bay. You got to keep them in the ballpark in order to win games, but they did a pretty good job, and they had to piece that together, where the Blue Jays and the Mariners both have a little more intact pitching staffs that have guys that can get the swing and miss. And, from an offensive perspective, Steve was talking about, the Blue Jays do a good job as far as putting those at-bats together. The last time when the Mariners faced the Dodgers earlier in the season, they struggled a little bit with the swing and miss over the course of that series. So, that would be something to watch if they were able to get into the World Series. But, for Dave Roberts, the way that his pitching staff has been going, you're just hoping for more of the same, to where you're just kind of sitting, relaxing in the dugout and watching those guys kind of do their thing.
And it's fresh in our minds because Shohei hit 3 home runs the other night, but the Dodgers have not been living and dying with the home run. 39% of their runs in these playoffs have come off the home run.
Professional ABs. That's what they put together.
And then you compare that with Seattle, 61% of their runs in this playoffs have come off the home run. One of the biggest ones, came from Geno Smith. I'm still in disbelief. 3 players have done this. 3 or more homers in a game where the player was also the starting pitcher. Shohei did it the other night. Jim Tobin, May of 1942. And who could forget Guy Hecker? He was a dude, August 15th, 1886. So we're good for one every century. That's how rare this is. And now we welcome in Jerry Hairston, Sportsnet LA broadcaster, 16-year big league career. Jerry, you got to witness greatness. Was this the greatest playoff performance of all time?
I think it was. No disrespect to Reggie Jackson and the many other great playoff performances. I really couldn't sleep after watching that performance at Dodger Stadium that night. And I just was like, what did this make me feel? Because we were all in awe, not just fans, but players. Shohei Ohtani also broke X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And I was thinking that night and the next day, I was like, what can I liken it to? I guess for kids who didn't experience Michael Jordan when he was going on his epic runs, or Tiger Woods when he was in his prime, that's how Shohei made us all feel that night. For him to go out, first inning, strike out the side, then hits a leadoff home run, not done, goes out there, 10-plus punch-outs, 6 innings pitch. Oh, by the way, 3 8-measure shots, 1 out of Dodger Stadium. Also, that ball out of Dodger Stadium, that's the furthest ball I've ever seen hit at Dodger Stadium. I have to say that is the greatest postseason performance, at least in baseball.
Dodgers now 4 wins away from repeating as World Series champs. What's the overall vibe around this team right now? Because they pretty much outclassed the Brewers. They get by in 4 games, and now they get a couple of days off waiting on the winner of Mariners-Jays.
Well, guys are extremely confident. I just love the way they responded. If you go back to mid-September, or whatever that game was when Yamamoto had that no-hitter lost in that 9th inning, was 1 strike away. The Dodgers offense really was non-existent, really up until that point that month. Something clicked. And then when Clayton Kershaw announced his retirement, that group really kind of galvanized together, and they had like a new sense of focus, new sense of purpose. Now, I really felt they would have been ready for the postseason, but I think those 2 things, with Clayton Kershaw announcing his retirement, these guys are laser focused, and they've been playing great baseball. Great starting pitching, pretty good bullpen, along with the rookie Sasaki, who's been a lights out closer, and the offense has been really good. So these guys are focused, they're confident, but no matter who they play, they know they're going to have to play their best baseball, whether it's the Blue Jays or the Mariners.
We saw different teams with the first-round buys approach the layoffs differently. We had the Blue Jays filling the seats for sim games. We saw the Phillies do the same thing. How are the Dodgers going through these next couple of days before the World Series begins?
Well, guys have gotten treatment a little bit. They're going to start wrapping up their workouts. I'm sure there'll be a simulated game. There might be a gray-white game. I know Ichiro played in a game. I think the Mariners had like a practice game. Ichiro got a chance to play in it. I'm hoping if they do have that, maybe I can kind of sneak in and play an inning or 2 if the guys need help.
Attaboy.
That would be cool. But I think, listen, I know it's a long layoff. Major League Baseball players aren't used to this long layoff. But these guys are focused. They've done this before. A lot of them have been through this type of scenario, and I think they'll be ready to go come Friday night.
Jerry, do me a favor. If they ask you to suit up, please don't pull anything. Just stay on your feet. Don't get hurt, okay?
I don't think they're going to be asked